ACAD tutorial. Today we're working in AutoCAD 2018 on a Mac computer. If you're working on a PC or in an older version of AutoCAD, don't worry, your experience will be largely the same. Your AutoCAD might just look slightly different. Today we'll be covering basic drawing commands, and we will be drawing this title block for a letter-sized sheet that you can use to present your drawings on in the future. Let's go ahead and create a new drawing. Click File, New Drawing. AutoCAD has different templates that you can start with. Let's go and click on the ACAD.dwt and open it. First, let's create a few layers. Layers allow you to separate your lines onto the different layers and keep similar line types on one layer. You can also turn them on and off in the future to simplify or add complexity to your drawing. Click the New Layer button, which looks like a stack of papers. Our first layer will be called Border. Change the color to green. Let's make another layer and call it Construction. We'll make this one red. Yet another layer called Dimension, which will be magenta. A layer called Text, which will be cyan. And a final layer called Object, which we'll leave as white. Before we start drawing any lines, let's show you how to move around in your AutoCAD drawing. If you click on this magnifying glass, it's a zoom. Click your left mouse key and move your mouse up will zoom you in. Moving your mouse down will zoom you out. The hand to the right is a pan key. Left click will allow you to move your drawing around. AutoCAD has also built these functions into your mouse and keyboard shortcuts. The scroll wheel on your mouse, if you have one, will allow you to zoom in and out. Hold the spacebar on your keyboard, and now you can move around your drawing with your mouse. You can do this in the middle of a command without interrupting it. Now that we've settled that, let's start drawing the outline of our page. We'll use the line command for this. You can either select the line icon in the draw palette, or you can type in line. As you start typing, AutoCAD will give you suggestions of different commands. The top highlighted one will be the one that you use if you right-click or press Enter. Click to start the line, and click again to end it. You can continue drawing lines this way. Let's show you a helpful tip when drawing lines. Escape to exit out of the command, and let's select and delete these lines. When selecting in AutoCAD, left-click. Pulling your mouse to the right will give you a blue box. Pulling it to the left will give you a green box. The green box will select any and all lines that are touching the inside of the green box, while the blue box will only select lines that are fully encompassed by the blue box. Go ahead and select all three lines and hit delete to remove them. Click on the line command again and pick a start point. We want to be able to draw perfectly straight lines that are perpendicular horizontally and vertically. There are two methods of doing this in AutoCAD. Down here we can see that we have ortho mode and polar mode. If we click on ortho mode, we'll notice that our line stays perfectly horizontal until you pull it over and it starts going vertical. This will keep your drawing lines at perfectly horizontal, and vertical, but will not allow you to draw at any angle in between. For a bit more versatility, you can use the polar. Polar will snap two different angles in between. If you right-click on this icon, you'll see you have different angle options. We have 45 degrees selected, which will let us snap with this dashed green tracking line in 45-degree increments, starting at 0, up to 45, 90, 135, and so on. If we would pick 30 degrees, we would start at 0, and now it snaps at 30 degrees. It'll also snap at 60. Notice how we no longer have that 45 degree? This is because we're snapping in increments of 30 degrees. You can always switch between the different options in the middle of your command without interrupting. Another item that we can add down here is polar tracking and snaps. This will allow us to track from certain points and also allow us to snap to certain points. Right-click on the snap and click your settings. In here, we can pick all of the snap entities that we want to add. Make sure that you have endpoint, midpoint, center, node, intersection, and extension. In the future, you may decide to add additional ones or remove certain ones that you feel you don't need. Click OK. To draw the border of our letter page in metric, the width is 279.4 by 215.9. If we were to try and draw this line exactly, we would have difficulty getting it to that exact point, as we're drawing to an accuracy of 4 decimal points. So to ensure accuracy, we can type in the length of the line that we want, 279.4. Hit Enter or right-click to enter that selection. Click the line command again. Starting from this point, let's go up in the height, 215.9. We'll draw back at 279.4. And at this point, we could either type in 215.9, or if you scroll down to the beginning of that line, you'll notice that it pops up this little green square. The green square indicates that it'll snap to the beginning of this line. Click to select that point. Right-click to exit out of the line command. Now we have the border of our page drawn. We'd like to create a border within this page that creates the confines of our drawing space. We're going to put this on the border layer. Double-click the border layer. Now we could start by drawing the lines again, or we can use a command that'll let us copy or offset lines. Let's start with the copy command. Click the copy on the Modify palette, or you can type in copy. Select the line you want to copy. Right-click to accept, and select a start point. You can drag this up and type in 10 millimeters. Notice that even though we're on the border layer, our line is still white, as it has been drawn on the 0 layer. This is because when we copy or offset, the line that we're copying will keep the attributes of the original line. We can change this line to be on the border layer by selecting it, going into the properties here, where it says layer, select and change to border. Let's try the different method of offsetting. If we use the offset command, we can type in the distance that we want, 10 millimeters. Notice the button that I clicked down here shows you the dynamic input. It pops up this gray box, which gives you a hint of where you are within the command. So let's start again, select the offset, and see it's indicating specify offset distance. Here we typed in 10 millimeters. Now it's telling us to select the object to offset. So we'll pick this vertical line on the right. Notice you can offset to either side of the line. Let's go ahead and offset to the inside. Notice that the command is still within the offset, so we can go ahead and pick another line to offset. And finally, this now line on the left. Right-click to exit out of the command, and now we'll have to select these three lines and move them to the border layer. Now we have a nice outline, but these lines are extended past to the edges of the paper. We'd like to trim off these extra sections. You can type in trim, or you can click on the trim button in the modify palette. With trimming, you select objects to act as cutting edges. Either you can select just one or multiple lines, or you can right-click to have AutoCAD use all the lines in the drawing as cutting edges. Go ahead and right-click, and notice now when you hover over a line, you get the red X and the line disappears. Click to trim the line, and let's do this to the other side here. Notice if you select a line that doesn't cross any others, it won't let you trim it, as trimming only lets you trim entities that cross lines. To remove this, you'd have to select and delete it. Let's trim these other sections on the bottom. Now that we have our border, we'd like to create a title block at the bottom to put in information about the drawing. Let's use the copy command to copy this bottom line. Select the object, right-click to confirm, and select a base point to copy from. Drag it up, making sure you have that tracking in the perpendicular 90 degrees, and you can type in 9 millimeters. We want a second one, an additional 9. Notice, however, it's still tracking from the original point, so we'd have to type in 18. Let's put in some vertical lines to separate this box further. Select the line command, or type in line, and hover over this edge. Notice how that green box appears again. If you drag to the side, you'll get this green tracking, which will allow you to start the line in reference from that original point. Type in 130 to have the line start 130 millimeters from that edge. Hit enter or right-click. Now we can pull this line down past the middle line to the bottom line to where that X appears. This is the intersect point. Left-click to select that as your second point. Right-click to exit out of the command. Now if you right-click, it'll repeat the previous command of a line, and we can use this method to once again track over 50 millimeters and draw another line down. Do this one more time. Hover over, track 50, and pull it down to the intersect point and click for the second point. For these two lines, we actually want them only to go from the bottom to the middle line. We can fix this one of two ways. We can use the trim command, select this line as a cutting edge, right-click to accept, and trim that line off. The other way is to select the line and notice these blue grips show up. If you pick the middle grip, it'll allow you to move the entire line. Hit escape to deselect. If you would select the top grip, it allows you to move that grip. We can pull it down to this point and it'll essentially shorten the line. Now we have our title block prepared. we'd like to add in some construction lines to assist us in centering our text. Our text is going to be 3 millimeters high and start 10 millimeters from the edge of each box. Let's switch to the construction line layer by double-clicking on it. We're going to use the copy command now to copy these 3 lines. Right-click to accept, pick this base point, pull it over, and type in 10. As you notice, these once again have taken the attributes of the original line. So go ahead and select those 3 lines and switch them over to the construction layer. We still need a line over the here, but we didn't have an original line that was short enough that we could use. So let's go ahead and use the copy command once again and select this line. Right-click to accept, but rather than selecting a point on the line this time, we'll copy it from this point, which we know is a reference 10 millimeters. We can now pull it over and snap it to the beginning of the line to have that a perfect 10 millimeters from the edge. Let's use the offset command now to offset a distance of 3 millimeters, the bottom line up, the top line down, and the middle line both up and down. Select the additional lines that you've created and move them to the construction layer. Now we have guidelines for placing our text. To place our text, click on the large letter A in the text palette. Text allows you to create a box. Pick the top of the box as the first point, and then the bottom of the box as the second point. We want our text to be 3 millimeters high, so select up here, type in 3. Click back into the text box, and let's type in title block. This top box will be used to name your drawings in the future. So you can keep it as title block, or you could maybe change it to drawing name as a reminder that you'd like to put your drawing name there in the future. Hit save to accept, and you'll notice that this text is 3 millimeters tall and it's snapped exactly starting 10 millimeters from the edge. Let's go ahead and make another one below the original. Select the start point and the end point. Notice we still have to change this to 3 millimeters tall, and we can add in our name. Hit save to accept. Now rather than repeating this process and changing the attributes each time, we can copy the text. Select the copy icon or type in copy and select the text of your name. Right-click to accept and pick this top left-hand corner as your first reference point. Copy it over to your other text box locations. Obviously, we don't want our drawing to have our name on it repeated so many times. So on this top right box, double-click on the text, select it, and here we're going to put the school name. You could also put in a company name or organization, which this drawing is for. Hit save to accept, and in the box right below it, double-click. We'll use this one for the scale. We'll put in 1:1 as our standard scale. If in the future you are drawing at a different scale, you can make the change in here. We'll also add the units, which is millimeters in this case. Hit save. In the box directly to the right, we'll add in the date. I'm going to put in a placeholder of day, month, year, and hit save. And finally, in the last box, we'll select that text and we'll use this for our page number. As a standard, I like to have 1 of 1, but you can edit this in the future to suit your drawing needs. Hit save. We'd like to have this text on our text layer, so go ahead and select all of the text boxes and in the properties under the layer you can change this to text. Ideally, we'd have double-clicked on the text layer originally and we wouldn't have had to make this change. Now your title block is ready. Let's go ahead and save this. File, Save As, and pick a name to save it as. Congratulations, and we look forward to working with you in our next tutorial in creating a drawing.